Leanne, how are you? Are you okay? Technology is challenging us now, hey?
I'm very, very well. It's great to be with you guys.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, man.
It's an
We
absolute
appreciate
pleasure.
you taking time.
I've got
Yeah.
because I
Okay.
couldn't get the request through on your I couldn't get the request through on the Mac, so I'm now speaking to you on my cell phone. So I'm going to have to run and find a charger soon.
No, that's
But
fine.
how are you guys doing? Is everything okay?
Yeah, we all good. We're okay. We're hanging in there. We're trying
Good.
to do what you're doing as well, saving the country as best as we can during this time. So yeah, we are. And you? Are you well?
Very well. Under the circumstances, keeping as well as possibly can, and just navigating these very, very tough times that everyone else finds themselves in as well.
No, it's true. It's true. The last time I saw you, we were at a school where it was raining
Yeah.
somewhere in the northwest. We were doing what I think every single during this time. Eh?
You know, that was, do you know that was the week of lockdown? I
Yeah,
think we went through, and then about 2 days later, the president said that we were going into lockdown, and we
yeah.
were going to a school where it was an ECD center, where we were handing this over to the parents and the teachers and the community, and just allowing them to send their kids into something that they could be very, very proud of. And then the next second, as it opened, it shut down, and it has never opened since. I mean,
It is.
and that's the reality.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things though that stood out for me on that day was the fact that they had gone out of their way when putting together the center itself, that early childhood development center, to find the raw materials locally. I think it's a good story around the fact that it's possible to build anything using locally made resources, equipment, and everything else that you need to put together the structure. So that was a classical example of buying local in action.
Yeah, and it really was, and hiring local in the community, making it work, sponsored by local as well. Because if I'm not mistaken, that was an Aspen Pharmacare initiative, and that being a proudly South African company that came forward, saw that there was help needed and assisted. And that's something that I think big corporates and companies need to come on board, because people can't do this alone. Small schools and businesses, they need the help of big corporates to get involved, do what they can to assist.
No, it's true. I mean, Happy made a comment now to say it was sponsored by Ntate Aspen. Remember the ladies there kept calling Stavros Nicola and Ntate Aspen because they couldn't pronounce Nikolai.
Exactly. Stavros, he will never be known as anything else but Ntate Nicola. After that, it was funny, but it was heartwarming, because it's people that have that kind of power to change other people's lives.
Yeah.
And if you keep that power to yourself, what's the point, of having it? And I've often, we did a food distribution over the weekend with the Nelson Mandela Foundation, parcel and distribution that they work in conjunction with social development, the Department of Social Development.
Yes.
We went out to the Northwest, and it was one of the most heartbreaking experiences I've had to actually see how people are starving at the moment, and how difficult and the times really are, and how badly affected people have been by this lockdown. But the funny thing is that it wasn't caused just by the lockdown. This has been there all along, but now it's just getting worse and worse and worse. And then you realize through initiatives like this that this is how we can help. Where we can, we have to help. It's not a nice to do. At this point, it is I have to do something, and I've got to do it now.
Yeah. No, it's true. And I think it lends itself nicely to the conversation we want to have with you.
Yeah.
To say, do you think, and today the tables are 10. Normally you ask the questions, but today I want to ask most of the questions, if you don't mind. And I think that's the fun bit for me, that I don't have to think hard today. I must just let the conversation flow.
Let it flow.
Yeah, let it flow, but ask a lot of the questions. But do you think, based on what you've experienced over the last weekend, when you went through to this facility, or to this area, that there is a correlation between trying to take the country out of poverty through and buying local through our purchasing decisions? Do you think we can start changing people's lives just through our purchasing habits? Because our view as Proudly South African, and this is tried and tested, and before we were able to get you on into this live platform, I was talking about the fact that we know, in our view, as Proudly South African, that based on what we've seen in other countries, especially Australia, that they've rolled out this campaign and people in that country have really warmed up to it. But it's good to get a view from ordinary people as to whether they think there is correlation between buying local and the creation of jobs, especially in those industries that make the products themselves.
There's no doubt. There has to be a correlation. Neighbor, you're supporting your country, you're keeping that currency here and you're making it more powerful. And that's the one thing that, put COVID-19 aside, because we are talking about something that honestly has just exacerbated an already bad situation. And that I think we need to understand that. That's not, this hasn't all started just because there's a pandemic out there. We as South Africans, unfortunately, have turned to other brands. We've turned to other countries to supply us with things that we could very easily have and made here with even better quality. And we now have to think to ourselves, hang on a second, we got to really, really embrace this now. I mean, you look at, for instance, just take a look and see in terms of what's happening with manufacturing sector. I mean, you go into the clothing sector right now, and that is, it's dying a slow death, and it was, but now it's going faster because people obviously are now in a very, very difficult position because, of all the things that have been implemented. But if we don't start thinking before we buy, there is going to be nothing local here. And that breaks my heart because I think that sometimes government puts money in the wrong places. Whereas as a country and as a continent, the one thing that we really need to be proud of are the arts, the design, the color, the uniqueness of that African flavor. The funny thing is that we don't embrace that. We don't take that and make it bigger than it should be, because that's our winner. You look at local artists, their artworks are amazing, and they only get recognized when somebody from overseas buys their stuff. We need to support that. The clothing that we have made here locally is unbelievable. I made it my mission a while ago, and particularly it was last year, this year, and a lot of people that are on television or that are in the media love to get their stuff given to them for free. I don't want that. I never want that. If I find something in a brand that I love on Instagram, I will place my order, I will buy it, and I will wear it, and I will tag that person, and I will let people know that this is who I bought it from and this is where I'm wearing it. And I don't want freebies. I want to support local, because that for me is, you're not going to get money out of having publicity. You're going to get money out of somebody actually putting money where their mouth is. The same thing goes for where we are now. There are all these face masks that everybody's trying to make and trying to find business for, and we're still talking about getting, masks from overseas, and we should be having factories that are producing this. This is what we should be pumping out all the time. And whether it be cloth masks, face masks, let government open up a factory. Let them do this. Let them produce it. This is things that DTI need to be doing. We need to produce locally. It is the only way out of this. That's honestly what I believe.
No, that's good. I think I like what you've said, especially with around the masks. I think it's good that it's another voice that is saying it outside of those of us who are within Proudly South African. Because the more we say it, sometimes we end up sounding. And that's for purpose of information to those who have tuned into this live conversation, is that we've set up a portal. If you go to proudlysa.co.za, there's a /COVID-19. There's a COVID-19 portal that we've set up where you are able to go in and find cloth masks that you're looking for during this time. You're able to find hand sanitizers, disinfectants, and detergents. So for those of you who are tuning in, please go to that portal And what the DTI has done with the masks portal specifically is that you are able to find guidelines on the portal. So anyone who wants to repurpose their business, and talking about fashion designers, like you said, so a fashion designer can actually go in to the portal and register that which they're making during this time. I mean, you have a lot of factories. I mean, 2 days ago, I did an interview on SAFM with a lady who runs a footwear factory. But during this period, she's not just making only footwear; she's also making masks. So that repurposing of the factory to add a production line that focuses on making masks was critical in that this is a factory where the workers had to stay at home. When lockdown kicked in, the workers had to be home because the clothing that they normally make and the shoes and footwear that they normally make was not required by any of the retailers. So during lockdown, they had to find ways to get their factory workers back onto the factory floors to produce something that was needed. So they're making masks. But in order to drive demand their way, we have set up this portal. If you go into probably say dossier.za COVID-19, you'll find a list of suppliers. And those suppliers are predominantly factories and fashion designers. These are not people who normally make masks during this time, especially because the cloth masks really require fabric. We've also come across a lot of millers in South Africa who are available to supply the fabric and the cloth that is required by these designers and the factories to make the masks, just so that we impact the whole value chain. So those millers now have orders coming their way because those factories are buying from them. And you also then have all these factory workers who are now able to go back and produce something for which there's demand. So that's what it's about. It's about making sure that jobs are created in those factories, but across the whole value chain in those mills where the fabrics are produced. You also have jobs. And that's what this campaign is about. It's about making sure that we impact as many lives as possible through purchasing decisions.
So with the portal that you have, it's such a powerful platform to promote local business and to promote all of these young developing companies that need the publicity. They need all of it. Here comes my charger. Look, this is the bane of my. Can you bring me an extension? Sorry, everyone. This is
so we know we won't lose you now.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean,
so we know we won't lose you now.
Fast at the moment. I quickly got a. So I told you that I was on red. Now you can only imagine what I'm on. I'm on white. I don't even know how to describe what I'm on right now.
No, it's fine. Do what you need to do. Whilst I tell them, yeah.
You tell them a story. I'm going to plug this in.
Whilst I tell. And I see my colleagues are reminding me of that we have an online store that we set up about, that we went live with that store about 2 years ago. In August 2018, I think, we launched the online store. And pretty much the same way that you can go into any other online store and shop for what you need, you are able to go into RSA Made and find what you're looking for. The difference with RSA Made is that when you go and you buy on that platform, every single item on that platform is made locally within the borders of South Africa, so there are jobs being supported, as opposed to the other platforms. And I'm not here to diss anyone, so I won't name anyone. But as opposed to these other platforms that are in our face and on our TV screens with adverts every night telling us to buy on those platforms, you don't necessarily know where the product comes from when you buy on those platforms. Unlike with RSA Made, where you go on there, every single product you find on there has been vetted by proudly South African for quality. So this thing of saying local is not always the right quality is not necessarily true. When you go into RSA Made, those products that are on there have been vetted by us to ensure that it meets the minimum requirements by way of standards for that specific product, and that when you go on there, you know that you're supporting jobs. There are jobs within South Africa that are supported through every single purchase that you make. So that's what it's about for us. It's about making sure that we promote the ease of access for locally made products.
Yeah, and there also has to be, I mean, Eustace, from what I'm understanding, there's got to be a mind shift. Just go and we purchase things because it's there. Whereas you actually think about responsibly where you're putting your money. That makes all the difference in the world. Because if I'm going through a shop and I suddenly see the Proudly SA logo, or I see Made in South Africa, know in your mind what you're actually doing, and that automatically shifts you. I mean, before I got involved with Proudly SA, and I've had such a beautiful
Yeah.
road that I've traveled with you guys, because
Sure.
not for very selfish reasons, because it's opened my mind and my eyes up to how important supporting local really is. I didn't understand that if I went to, and I'm not downplaying international brands, because we don't live in isolation. We do live in a
Sure.
world where
True.
where it doesn't matter where you're walking. There will be an H&M and a Zara and a Mango and a whatever store is there. It happens.
Yeah.
It is there. And I'm not saying don't buy from there. But what I am saying is understand that by buying that, you're not necessarily supporting local. You may be the whole process of making another family and company and business rich is not happening here in this country. You're doing it to another country. And that's something that we have to honestly in our minds understand, that the minute you start focusing your attention on local, that's when you'll see things turning around. With travel, and this I think is an industry that we need to talk about in terms of what's going to happen, because the tourism industry is taking the biggest knock right now.
The biggest knock.
Eustace,
A horrible knock.
I'm petrified. Yeah, I'm petrified for the travel industry. But this
It's
is
a
a
horrible
moment
knock.
where we as South Africans, we spend a lot of money on going on holidays overseas and plowing our money into international markets and enjoying what they have to offer. This is a time where we need to, again, bring it home. We need to, once things start opening, make sure that we spend whatever we do have locally, embrace these places, drive there, go there, enjoy. They must stock up with products that are made by local communities. I mean, some of them. I want to show you a shelf of mine. I don't get the opportunity much to
showcase.
show people the inside of my home, but I mean,
Yes,
I'll
sure.
show you some of the beautiful things that I, through going to where I am. I mean, these are all local things. So,
This is beautiful.
where I go away, I'll buy local things. These are all
That's
local,
nice.
by local guys. There's my my little number with his Zulu attire on. You probably can tell me the better name for it, but I mean, I will insist that my money is spent where I know that I'm benefiting
This is
other people.
beautiful.
These are just, I just wanted to show you. It just all jumped out at me. I mean, I supported and bought from, the artists that we look at are local, emerging artists that are coming up and doing the most incredible things. We've got
That's
a lot
beautiful.
more Nelson Namakos out there. We really do.
Yeah,
That
true.
we have to find. It mustn't be left up to Oprah to find. We got to find these guys and promote them. So the reality is that there are so many talented people. And I go back to what I originally said. What I showed you there. International tourists walk into my house. It's the first thing they see. They go, "Oh my gosh, that is amazing.
Great.
I need
Great.
that." And if we do not support that, and we're not as clever in our minds to understand that we're changing people's lives just by buying that and not negotiating them down to the smallest possible price that we can offer them, but by actually uppricing it, then we won't understand what difference we're making. And that's, that for me is, I'm very passionate about that.
No, and it confirms why you're such a good friend of the Proudly South African campaign. I mean, you're walking the talk. You've just showed us. I mean, everyone out there has now seen that you are really walking the talk. And something that you mentioned that I don't want to lose sight of and to lose is the fact that we are not necessarily saying the jobs that are created by these retailers who predominantly stock up on everything that is imported are not creating jobs. So those frontline jobs of the people who work in the stores are important. But it's about the value chain. And a quick example that I want to give is that of the furniture industry. So you have a furniture industry that used to employ about 50,000 people about 20 years ago. We have about 25,000 direct jobs. And those are just the direct jobs. But outside of those direct jobs, you have indirect jobs across the whole value chain. So there's industries like steel. So think of a furniture product. Let's take a chair as an example. If you are going to make a chair, you need steel products, you need steel components. So the steel industry benefits jobs from that. You need nuts and bolts, and that is also contributed partially by the steel industry. And then you need plastic, and that industry contributes. You need wood, that industry contributes. You need paint and adhesives. So the chemical industry benefits. So what I want to demonstrate with that is that when you buy something that is locally made, you are not just impacting on the job of that person who brings it to you as the end user, but there are jobs throughout the value chain. And it's the same thing with the stores. The minute you support a store that sells only imported products, I mean, Zara, Cotton On, and H&M, specifically are the ones that we've taken on and we've fought with them for a long time. Look at what is happening with Edcon now. Those jobs are lost simply because the market share that Edgas used to have, or Edcon used to have, has been lost to these importers. Whereas those importers are predominantly creating jobs in other economies. I mean, some of the comments from the guys we have tuned in now are the fact that they used was bought in China. The job in China was supported in the fabrics industry. A job was supported in the cut, trim, and make industry, where they make the actual garment, the zips, the buttons, and everything else that is used to make that garment. If it comes from outside of South Africa, it means a job was supported in that specific country. And that's what people must understand, that the same jobs that you would have in a Zara, you would have in Edgar's. That the same people, the same number of people would be employed there, because as their share of the market grows, they would need to bring in more people, knowing at the same time that the value chain itself is impacted on. And that is what we want people to understand, that it's not that we are hating on all these guys. We don't want them to wear imported brands. We don't want them to shine in the same brands as they see their favorite international stars wearing. But it's about doing the right thing, that which supports the economy. We all know someone who's unemployed, and we all know someone who's unemployed, and that's a contribution.
Something like a Heritage Day, or we have Africa Day, or we have one of those days that promotes wearing your national heritage, or something that is proudly made here on the continent, or particularly in South Africa. People look magnificent, and they go all out to show off and wear their garments. And I don't see any international clothing that's worn on that day. Let me explain something to you. On that day, I don't think anybody gets more compliments than on any other day. The people, when you walk through shops, they look magnificent. People are happy. People, they feel good. They feel at home. This year on Africa Day, all I did was I wore a stunning jacket that I bought a while ago. It was from cheaper streetwear. Yes. They're amazing.
Those guys rock. They're members of Proudly South African, by the way.
Are they? I love them. And if they hear, love them. I love them. Really, and they know how much I love them. And in fact, they sent me a message and they said to me, Leanne, you're probably the one person who genuinely loves our brand. You don't just wear it because of anything. But hold on, I got to talk to my daughter. You got class upstairs.
You must still parent. You must still parent.
Oh, you have no idea what goes on here. I'm multitasking. Look, I wore that, and I put my makeup artist put dots on my face, which I think apparently is quite traditional in Xhosa.
In Xhosa.
Something so revolutionary. Meantime, it wasn't. It is something that we need to embrace on a daily basis. And something that we need to be proudly South African about. When I go to countries like, I went to Bali a few years ago, and you look at Indonesia and Bali and what they export. I mean, they sort of export their style even here. I mean, you'll go to townhouse complexes in four ways that are like proudly Balinese style. Now, give me a break. Give me a break. We're living in Africa, and we're being influenced by Bali. Now, I don't think that there's a proudly South African townhouse complex in the middle of Bali. I really don't believe that. Whereas you go to some of our beautiful hotels or some of our lodges, and you look at how they've decorated and how that African chic, how magnificent that is, and how people love that. Why are we not showing that off? Why are we not bragging? This is bragging rights that we've earned.
Yeah, but it's a culture in South Africa. I mean, we had a conversation 2 days ago with my colleagues, and we were trying to brainstorm some of those things. And one of the comments that was made by one of the people who were talking to us, and it starts, for example, with the musicians who then cry and say, "You are not supporting my music. Why is this and that broadcaster not playing my music and still giving most of the airtime to international music. But he's posting that music wearing everything imported. He's posting that video, making that plea, wearing everything imported. It starts with you. Walk the talk. I mean, if you want us to support your business, you must support other businesses locally, and that's how it goes. And I think that so it's a culture thing. It's a mindset thing. It needs a shift in our thinking. It's a mindset that must change in this country, where every other day, I'm not saying if you have things in your wardrobe that are not necessarily made, you must check them out. I know that before I took this job, I still had garments and items that I wear that I bought that are not necessarily locally made. So I still have those. It does not necessarily mean I must throw them out. But it's just a matter of saying, going forward, my purchasing decisions, now that I know better, my purchasing decisions must be informed by the fact that I need to contribute and give back to this economy. And by the way, KJEP reminded me that cheaper is sold on RSA made. So next time you want to buy, if you're not buying directly from them, buy on RSA made.
Can I do a challenge for you guys? And
Yes, sure.
and I hope you take me up on this. You know, I get like different emails and different kind of you know, whether it comes from Take a Lot or it comes from One Day Only or it comes from any one of these online stores that every day in my inbox there's a special.
Sure.
Can Proudly South Africa not do that? Can you guys not every single morning find products, send them directly to my inbox that I can buy, something that arrives in my inbox, I look at it and I say, damn, that's a good idea, you know, and I'm going to buy it. Not that anyone's going to earn, you're not taking a commission, I will be buying directly from these guys, but you, with your database, is advertising for them, whether it be a facial product, a clothing item, a holiday break, paint, because I know how diverse Proudly South Africa is and how many members you've got across South Africa who are amazing. But I think that this would be so beneficial for getting the message out there to push local products even more.
No, that's a good idea. I see KJP has just responded. KJP is one of the team from RSA Made that we are going to do that. So they've committed. I don't even have to ask anyone to do it. It will be done.
Fantastic.
So thanks for that. It's a good idea. There's a specific platform that I used to buy from, and I'm still on that list. So I do get those mails as well from one of these online stores that still sends the emails with specials and discounts on any given day. So it will definitely work. One of the comments made here is about trying to get retailers like Edgar's and Foschini that we spoke about to also buy local. And so I just wanted to put it out there that they do buy local. In fact, in terms of local content levels in Edgar's, you're already way above 50%. Where it's still the same garment that you would buy at Edgar's. The difference is that the order for making that garment, instead of going to China or Bangladesh or any of these Asian countries that used to get the order is going to a factory in Cape Town and Johannesburg and KZN. And so jobs are created in the process. So I thought that was a comment that I did not want to let slide by without responding to. So it's part of the work that we do. When we started engaging with Edgar's about 3-4 years ago, they only had about 38% local, 50% now. So there is progress being made. There are factories that the Foschini Group is taking over in South Africa as members of Proudly South Africa, and they are then taking over those factories just to upskill them and get them to a level, to produce at a level that they require, so that the standard is sustained and there's a standardized way of making their products. And the garments that are ending up in Foschini and Markham and Legit are now made locally. So it is possible. It's part of our import replacement program as Proudly South African. But remember, and that's a conversation I want us to maybe focus on. It's about getting South Africans to demand it, because if consumers don't demand it, and that's what the FMCG retailers told us, that they will not have any product on their shelves that consumers don't want. Be in a position to can stock up on that product, and that is the biggest challenge. You need to make sure that South Africans demand these locally made products, such that retailers know that if they stock up on these products, the end consumer or the end user is going to buy it. And that is what we need to start looking at, to say, how do you think, as someone who I think is very influential in the society, how do you think we can start getting South Africans to start changing their purchasing patterns, to start thinking local first before thinking before choosing those products that are not made in South Africa.
I wonder, I mean, and I think that that's that mind shift that we've been speaking about all along, is that through a mind shift, you're educated to it. And sometimes, and I think we're changing on this, sometimes people think that buying a South African made product or a local product is of a lesser quality and is not that good. And I absolutely am 100%, I fight for that. Now, let me tell you why and how I do that. Now, another thing which is brilliant is South African olive oil. And I, have always believed, or be brought up believing that the best olive oil comes from, whether it be Greece or Italy or Portugal or Spain, or it's imported and it's wonderful. And I've locally beautifully made, bottled, much cheaper, stunning looking bottle on the shelf of olive oil that won some prize. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to try this one. It surpassed any international olive oil I have ever tasted.
That's good.
I've only been brought up with, imported olive oils. And I'm giving just one example of an olive oil. But that has changed my mind. Since then, I said to my mom, please try this olive oil. It is, and of course, you're talking to people that come from Greek heritage or Lebanese heritage or whatever heritage it is, and to try and make them not buy a Greek olive oil or olive oils, and they have never ever changed. Important message is it's word of mouth as well. We'll be amazed how that message spreads. So it's such a big thing to do something, not just speak about it, but do it and understand how we're changing an industry. I mean, South African wines are again another topic, and I can see all the talk about vinegar there. For some reason, that just jumped up on me.
Yeah, but it's that vinegar thing that has been happening and trending. So someone is just throwing a
Is there someone talking about? Oh gosh, the vinegar. I'm too scared, guys. I will not put that under my bed.
I will not do that to you, sir. But talking about olive oil.
Maybe I'll try local olive oil. Maybe I'll find something nicer there. But
on RSA made. You buy the olive oil on RSA made. Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We can find out what that is. But yeah, I mean, those are the mind shifts. Those are the things that we need to do. I mean, the president was speaking, and I actually copied it before I came on here, and I can't get into it because it's hidden somewhere in my phone. I'm too scared to do anything in case I lose this connection that I've got with you. But during that media briefing that he was doing with SANEF, he spoke on Sunday, and he spoke about the new South African economy, and he spoke to the new shift that we as South Africans need to buy into, and what we need to make, and what we need to do is to stop. Is to stop and think what we are doing and make this local economy thrive by buying, and the patriotic economy. That's what he said.
Yeah.
And the minute he said that, I knew I was doing this conversation then already.
Sure.
And as soon as he said the patriotic economy, these alarm bells went off in my head, and I thought, that's the catchphrase we need to use. Is that by buying local, we are being patriotic. And if you don't understand that, you'll understand nothing. Just by buying a locally made T-shirt, olive oil, music, hotel, flight, whatever it may be, that is buying into your country. We need a patriotic economy. There is we cannot wait any longer. This is the time.
We're going to borrow that, by the way, the patriotic economy. We are going to borrow that.
Did you also hear him say that? Wasn't that the best?
No, that was brilliant. We have a new community. We use a football analogy, and I know my colleagues love this analogy because we initially got the idea from what the US did with their automotive industry ad, where Clint Eastwood is the main character. He says it's halftime. And basically he's saying it's halftime, and that in the second half you must do things differently. Think about what the numbers look like in South Africa before the lockdown, the unemployment numbers. Think of the GDP, the fact that we had already gone through successive quarters of negative growth. I still don't understand the negative growth thing, how growth can be negative. But we basically fell into a recession. And with that recession, it simply meant the economy was not growing at all. We were losing jobs. We were already sitting at 29% unemployment. The numbers are going to be horrific now when they come out. So even before the lockdown came in, we already needed to start changing how we behave as a country, especially in terms of our purchasing decisions and our procurement spend in the private sector and the public sector. So what we are saying with that, Ed, is that it's second half. The first half, we took this as a halftime, this pause that I think all of us just went into a moment where we just paused. And to say before that, this halftime pause that we went through, the economy was already in a bad state. We were supporting foreign economies, and that's why there is a strong belief, and the numbers are telling us that a lot of the stuff that we needed for our frontline and healthcare staff were imported, but because we had not built up the capacity in the country. So it's things like that that we need to change. We need to make sure that we build up the capacity to make those things locally, such that if a pandemic like this hits us again, if something like this happens again, we are able to supply those. We lost a lot of jobs in the clothing and textiles, in the automotive industry, in the broad manufacturing space. And that now that we've had an opportunity to pause, and we've seen how we have survived predominantly, especially when it comes to FMCG products and food and those things, that we've survived on with that which is locally made. 2 days ago, I had a conversation with one entrepreneur, and it was on his Facebook page. And the example I gave those who had tuned in was the fact that when there was that stockpiling that was happening during that time, people were stockpiling, there was panic buying that was happening. Toilet papers, so toilet papers. But we never ran out of toilet papers because of the local producers. Of the local producers. So if those producers had not stuck it up during the times when imports were hitting them hard and had given up, if they had given up, we would not have had that capacity which we then saw coming through, and the file and the shelves kept filling up all the time. So that's what we're saying, is that now that we've had a moment to pause, what other industries do we need to support so that in the second half we, through our purchasing decisions, support and that's what we're looking for in the second half. Yeah.
I mean, in this second half, we can do so much, and I've always, and I'm not alone in these thoughts, where if we're able to build and put together for international companies like cars, I mean, you look at all the plants that are around the country. We talk to Mercedes, we talk to BMW, and all of the different kind of models that we make here. It's produced something that is massive that we're exporting. We have got the skills, we have got the brain power, we have got the talent, we've got the resources, we've got the minerals, we've got everything that is happening for us. And yet, where is that missing link? We can talk to...
It's the demand. It's the demand.
It is a demand. I mean, let me tell you, Eustace, I used to own a shop for my sons. And I take my hat and tip my cap off to anybody who is in the industry that is in retail, because I used to own a shop in Sandton City, and it was the most stressful, worst time of my life owning that shop because of the rentals that I was made to pay.
You must write a book about it.
Yeah,
some entrepreneur will benefit.
Oh my gosh! I mean, the reality is that any little bit of money that we made was paid into buying stock, paying salaries, and paying the rent. And by that time, there was nothing left. And I mean, the rent, if I had to tell you how much I paid in rent for a tiny little shop, whereas I knew Zara was upstairs to me, and I knew all the big guys were, and they were paying nothing. But the little guy is the one that gets taken advantage of completely. And that little guy is exactly what we're talking about. That proudly South African company that is trying to make it. They're trying to do something. They're a family-owned company that's trying to go out there and do something, but they can't because nobody supports them.
It's the demand.
You're working against the odds. You're fighting the battle on your own. So that so-called patriotic economy that the president wants us to buy into, he also needs to allow the guys that are on this conversation and the guys that are producing and the guys that Zara and Prada and Louis Vuitton and Gucci on the Diamond Walk are the ones that they pay nothing for rent. They hardly
Yeah.
pay anything. It's just
Yes,
wonderful
true.
to have them there. And that doesn't make any sense to me. But the little guys, the guys that are seriously relying on that to put food on the table, and you're taking full advantage of them, now that's not fair. And the minute we get
Yeah.
that shit right, to understand that we need to support ourselves and we need the government to support us to make it easier for businesses to thrive, it'll never change. It'll never,
Yeah.
ever change because we will just fail. And after this coronavirus, these are the guys that are going to fail. Us local
Yeah.
guys. Ones that the hair salons on the corner, the nail salons on the
Yeah,
corner.
it's true. Yeah.
The guys that have gone out there, they've tried their utmost to open up a business, support people around them, and they never had anything to begin with, and they were living every month from from whatever they
Yeah.
got to pay
Yeah.
to live to pay. Now for 71,
To find other pockets of the economy where they can be absorbed.
yeah,
We have to find other pockets of the economy. When rebuilding this economy, the purchasing decisions that people are going to make, especially in the private sector and then in the public sector, that's why the biggest fights we are having now as Proudly South African is with both government and the private sector to say
yeah,
all these medical masks, all this PPE and other protective clothing that has been bought during this time to help protect us against this virus should have all come from local sources. There is a concerted effort being made to find suppliers. In fact, we have as Proudly South African, volunteered some of the companies that were in our database to be the ones that are used to scale up and increase the capacity that exists in the country. So, for example, there's a company called Green Line where they're being assisted to get machinery to help them make more of these medical masks. So once they have that machinery, they'll be able to scale up and increase and produce more and increase their production levels. And
yeah,
that is what we're trying to do. Make sure that every single cent that is spent in this economy. Because if you look at what is happening in those industries that you've mentioned, those people, once those businesses close down, those that were employed in those salons and small businesses that are going to close down, they add to the numbers of people who are already unemployed in this country. So they need to be absorbed somewhere. So you need all those industries that have the ability that have a multiplier effect in economic terms. So you know that when you support this business, they in turn buy from other people in South Africa for their raw materials and everything else they need, so that jobs are created at a rapid pace across the whole value chain. And that is
yeah,
what we're looking for. I mean, the other way of them trying to get their products to market, I mean, going back to your example about the rent being so excessively high and small businesses can't keep up, is online shopping. Commercial online platforms is the way to go, and that's why we've set up this RSA Made. It's free. As a member of Proudly South African, you do not pay a cent to list your product on RSA Made. It's one of those benefits. So we take away the rent component, but we're exposing you to more customers, to more people who did not necessarily know that they could sell their products or they could buy their products online, locally made products online. And that is what the thinking is with RSA Made. So we are looking at ways now to even take those products that are on RSA Made to international platforms. Because, for example, the DTI used to, on a regular, take companies to expos and pavilions all over the world to go and showcase their products. Now you can't do that because of the restrictions that come with this period. So all of that must happen on an online platform. So we're fighting very hard to make sure that it happens on to the South African product can easily buy it and access it through RSA Made. And that is the thinking, that we broaden the scope for South African products by making sure that they can now be accessed all over the world. And how else do you do it except through online shopping? Yeah. So for us, it's critical.
it's so important. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, it
So,
is critical. I mean, it really, really is, and that's the way of the future. And I'm glad you're thinking this way, because if we can't assist, and especially as a company and an organization, not a company, but an organization like Proudly South Africa, that's where you guys come in, and you offer these local companies that are doing their best right now, and they're sitting now on the bones of their art. I'm sorry to say it, but they are, and they're seeing everything fall apart that they've worked so hard to create in this time. But we've got to do something and fast.
No, we have to. We have to do something. I see the Chepper Streetwear guys have just waved. They've just joined the conversation.
Hello from
Yes, so
Norway. Hey, there's
yes.
my friends. Hello, guys.
Yeah,
Oh, I'm so glad.
I hope someone told them that they got a good mention from you.
Oh,
Hey, that you vouched for them. People must go and check out what Chepper sells. Go on RSA Made and go into the Chepper online store. I wear Chepper. I buy Chepper, so I'm a customer. I bought mine
yeah.
through RSA Made, so I know
Isn't
what
that
you
amazing?
exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
And this is the thing, and it's not because this is when you buy from a local company and they deliver, but they deliver in terms of the quality, in terms of the service that you receive from them, in terms of the follow up, and all of those boxes are ticked. There is no way I'm not going to support you again, because that is where my loyalty lies. Where I can turn to somebody and say, guys, I've got the best local guy for you. And the
Yeah.
guy's like, you really? I mean, how? How does that happen? Hey, we got even someone from New York tuning in. That's so
Yes,
fantastic.
there.
Hello, nice to see you.
I saw someone else from Spain earlier on. So we have people
And
tuning in from all
Norway.
over. Yes,
And
yeah,
Norway. I mean, this is so good. I'm so
it's
happy to
good.
see the reach South Africa has. And that's what I keep on saying is that we are so unique. We are the stuff that we produce here is bright, it's colorful, it's of an amazing quality. It is something that we can be very, very proud of. But if we do not brag about our own stuff and buy into our own things, why would we expect somebody from Norway to do that?
Yeah, no, true,
And I think we can do
true,
it. Can do
true.
it.
So as a parting shot, I want to make this comment, and I think you've demonstrated to us today. You even showed us what is in your house. We did not expect that, by the way. People must not think we set it
I'm
up.
so glad. I'm so
We
glad I
did
could
not.
give. There's so much more I could show you, but I'm going to leave it for part two.
Yeah, no, yeah, we definitely have to have part two. But
I think
we did
so.
not set that up. It was you spontaneously remembering that you have something like that in your house. And it takes me to the Global Citizen Festival. And you wore Tsepo the jeans, Tsepo the jeans outfit, the jacket and the pants. I mean, you're on a global platform. You have an opportunity to showcase that which is locally made, and you did exactly that. And that's what you've just done now. And that's what we're
Thank you
calling
so much.
for. So hats off to you. We
Yeah,
appreciate the support. We appreciate you being available today, you being available all the time whenever
all the
you
time.
need. We need you to help us
Yeah,
spread this message because people listen to the likes of you. I'm just a
yeah.
guy from Mamelodi, and people might not necessarily always want to hear what I have to say. But
I'm just
people
a,
have voices that they respect, and
yeah,
those voices are the ones that we want to be part
yeah.
of this buy local movement.
And that's the thing. I mean, I'm just a girl from Northcliffe who happens to be on television, and
Yeah,
there is nothing any special about me, and I never ever want to be treated
yeah,
special. I don't want somebody to see me and start giving me things. No, I
sure.
want to support you, and
Yeah,
that is it's a mindset that we all need to have. Is that when there was that one thing that was
yeah,
trying to put together in beadwork. And then I'm going to stand on the side of the road and negotiate her down to the
yeah,
most
no,
ridiculous price or
no,
expect it to be given to me for free. No,
yeah,
no,
no,
it's not
yeah.
about that.
That's
It is about
good.
uplifting this country,
That's
uplifting the
good.
people of this country. And
That's
the
good.
one way to do it is to buy and spend locally. That's
Thank
how
you.
you can do it.
That's it. I can't say more after that, otherwise I will mess it up. I can't say more after that. And
Uh,
someone is saying we can't do our ugly cry now. Oh, what is that ugly cry about that?
I don't
do,
know. I
do,
don't know what an ugly cry is, but it's keep ugly crying. It's okay. I know Happy wanted to talk about my duck that I
oh
once
yeah,
wore, and I
she's the
actually
one.
wore it more than once. I enjoyed it, and then yeah, I haven't worn it since. So Happy, we need another Proudly essay to bring out that duck again. I
Yeah,
loved it.
no, that's good. No, but thank you very much, Leanne. We really appreciate your support of the campaign. I hope those who tuned into this conversation, those who will catch the recording later, will all get a sense from a voice that I think is well respected
Thank you.
on what the economic impact is. Because that's what we wanted to demonstrate today, is the
Yeah,
importance and economic impact of buying local, of making
that's
those decisions. It's all in our hands. I mean, we're engaging an agency that came with a line that I liked. It's a pity not everyone was on the same page on that line, but it makes sense that not all superheroes wear capes. You can be a
yes.
superhero for us in this country without necessarily wearing a cape, by
It's amazing chatting to you
Thank
guys.
you. Thank you.
Keep it up. Keep pushing.
Thank you.
And I want to wake up and I want to see in my inbox from RSA Made an
Yes.
email that I can click on and I can buy and know that I'm supporting local business. Make it easy for me. Just make it easy.
We are going to do that for you and every other South African that is going to be part of this buy local movement going forward, because it starts now. It starts now. That's the only way you can rebuild this economy.
I agree. Guys,
thank you, Leanne.
Thank you so much, Eustace. Love to you all and to everybody that tuned in. This has been amazing. Thank you so much.
No, we thank everyone who tuned in. We thank people who took their time to spend an hour with us. So
that's so nice. I love it. Thank you, guys. God bless you. Hey?
God bless you too, Leanne. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.